Great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so happy to be doing this. I've actually been practicing for over 30 years, but I started teaching in 2010. So I'm hopeful that my screen, I'm at a place where they don't have the best Wi-Fi. So I'm hopeful with me just talking that it will stay steady and get through my presentation here. So I'll tell you what I'd like to do. I'd like to talk about generosity, to give us some things to feel into so we can feel it. And I'd like to talk in a way that helps us feel into what generosity can be in Dhamma. And then I'd like to do a meditation using the guidelines about generosity. And then maybe divide up into groups of 2, go into small groups, and I will give you a little contemplation to see if you can practice feeling into that generosity. We'll come back and then open it up for large group discussion, see what happens. Does that sound okay? And is my internet holding up? Can you see a thumbs up? Is everything holding up good? Okay, good. All right, so a little bit about generosity. Let's start with understanding Dhamma generally. I have come to the understanding that Dhamma challenges our natural thinking. In fact, I would be bold enough to say that if your Dhamma is not challenging your ordinary way of thinking, you might want to consider if it's really Dhamma, because the nature of Dhamma disrupts what we think of in terms of spiritual practice, what we think of as freedom, what we think of as liberation, all of it. So think about it. Something like the noble path that we're actually walking on, it comes from suffering. So it's almost as if you're willing to be with suffering, then you can actually access this freedom. It doesn't come from feeling peaceful, feeling happy, everything's great. It comes from the willingness to be with the difficulty. And that is actually the ennobling path that we walk on. This is challenging here. The other thing, we practice with precepts, right? This idea of using the precepts as a training tool. They are not rules. If they were rules, we would pretty much be breaking the rules all day long because we violate the precepts regularly in our ordinary day. But if you see the precepts as training wheels, training apparatus, training tools, then you feel into where you want to be, what your true intention is, what you'd like to live out of, what is freedom. You feel into it as you go along, because these precepts actually help us learn where the boundary lines are, learn where harm comes from, not because we know this is harmful and that's not, but because we can feel it. We can tell when harm is present, whether we did it or someone else. You can think about the refuges. We say we take refuge into 3 triple jewels, the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. Really? They're kind of nebulous. We actually take refuge in our faith. in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. But the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, very nebulous. It looks different almost every day. When I think about Buddha on days when I am feeling kind of low or having a bad day, I'm just not upbeat and happy. Do you know what you know which Buddha I think of? I think of the Buddha that was weary and had to charge through alone, trying to practice by himself in something he didn't even know if it would really be the way, but he had an idea that this would be the way. That's the Buddha I think of. And when I am upbeat and happy, I think of Buddha as part of a Sangha and how he's helping all these young monks and young nuns coming into the practice, and this kind of inspirational being. But depending on how I am, Buddha looks very different. And the Dhamma looks different, depending on how I feel, what's going on around me. The Sangha looks different. So it's not so much a Buddha boxed in, Dhamma boxed in, Sangha boxed in. It's not that. It's something else. And it's our faith in something that is protecting us and sheltering us. And we can see that faith through the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. So I started this way because if we start talking about the gift of generosity, then we need to start by thinking of generosity at the challenge of the way we think about generosity, because generosity, our thoughts are in connection to, are we stingy or not stingy? Do we give or do we not give? It's pretty basic. But that word generosity in Dhamma is way outside of that, way larger. And that's what I wanted to try to point to, just how large dana, or this generosity, actually is. So generosity is the first parami, right? The first of the perfections, the qualities that we need. I feel like I want to sneeze. The qualities that we need in order to sort of settle our minds or hearts in this liberative state. The qualities that come together, the 10 of them, come together and support what it takes to be an awakened being. I mean, it's not just, I'm awake, therefore I'm happy all the time. I wish it were like that. I live in bliss and I'm walking around floating on air. I wish it were like that, but it is not. Because any practitioner will tell you, the more you practice, the more sensitive you get towards difficulty, the more you feel suffering. So we need to be able to hold the suffering of the world, to steady ourselves with the truth of human conditioning, and to be able to be in a world that exists in this constantly changing, impermanent, suffering, dukkha, and empty nature. We need to be in that kind of a world, and the paramis help solidify our ability to be in that kind of a world when the mind awakens and it not swallow us up. So generosity is the first of these perfections, and in it being the first of the perfections means that it is also a gateway. So it's not just do you give, it's the gateway that opens up our ability to be in a massive world and be free and be liberated. It is the doorway we go through in order to access what is liberation. It also exists in every moment. The fact that it's a parames, it's a quality that is to be perfected, it exists always. It's always an opportunity to perfect generosity. It's always present. The gateway is always present. The qualities I'm going to talk about, the felt sense of it, it's always available. If we tune our view, we can begin to see it always, everywhere. In fact, the Buddha started all of his talks. We start our talks with suffering. That's what we start. All our energy is, there is suffering. That's not the way the Buddha started. He started his talks with generosity, this gateway that he would open up the hearts and minds to the people that were there. And then he could talk about suffering in a way that people could actually begin to attune to it, hear it, be with it. So it is this always ever present, all the parames are always present, but including this generosity, it's always present. And it must be perfected, meaning that it's not just our opinion about generosity and do we believe it's always present. It's what is our what is the felt sense of it? Can we actually begin to practice with it in such a way that we can see it, know it, feel it, believe in it, that we perfect our understanding around it, and that we don't have these little taints or little rubs about who we're going to be generous to, when we're going to be generous. Is that really, do I need to be generous now? It's that perfecting it so that we can be freely generous at any time. It's energetic. So these are not concepts, the parames, generosity being one of them. These are energetic. These are felt sense experiences that we begin to connect to and begin to learn about. And so we can have thoughts and concepts about what generosity is, but unless we try it on and feel it for ourselves, then it doesn't, it's not generosity. It may be generosity in the English understanding of that word, but it's not in the Dhamma, because Dhamma is this energetic felt sense. You know it from the inside out. And this sense of learning to feel into, why would generosity be a parami? Why would that be something to be perfected? Getting interested in that becomes important to our greater understanding. Two more things I've thought about with generosity. It's outside our human will and force. So if generosity in the English version is just this giving, then you can force yourself to give. You can give way too much, but you never know it. Then you have all this resentment because you wished you hadn't gave that much, or you could have gave more, but you're kind of like, I don't know if I want to give that much. And you know, not just monetary or gifts, but just yourself. I don't know if I really want to put that much energy into it. So if it's based on human will or force, it's subject to our conditioned attitude about who deserves something. So this generosity that we're practicing, it's not connected to that human will or force at all. It's freely offered. It flows from the universe. It flows energetically through all beings, and it's offered from that. I saw this little video clip of this great white whale, and there were these marine biologists who were studying them, and they come, randomly. And I guess this whale, I'm assuming he had seen it, because the whale, all of a sudden, I mean, they just were swimming around, and the guys were taking pictures and stuff like that, and doing their little scientific stuff. And then all of a sudden, this whale, this thing got aggressive, started pushing this marine biologist down further and further and further, and wouldn't let him float up, just kept pushing him down, kept getting in his way, cutting him off, pushing him down, pushing him down. But the whale wouldn't go away, didn't actually eat him. He did kind of scoop him up in his mouth and pushed him down, and then kept him down there and kept swimming around. And the people on the top of the water were freaking out about, because whales don't normally kill people like that. And then they saw this tiger shark constantly swimming around, swimming around, swimming around. And they saw the whale putting his or her body, I don't know if it was a him or her, their body in front of the tiger shark, and not letting the tiger shark have access to this human. It was phenomenal. Everyone was tripping. And then the tiger shark eventually gave up and swam off, and the whale just moved out of the way and went under the guy and boosted him up so he could get up to the top. I mean, think about that. Is that not generosity? That is outside our understanding of what can be generosity. We don't even think that animals necessarily know that much about us. And yet this whale understood that that tiger shark was more of a danger to the human than it was to him or her. And so they just got in the way so that the tiger shark couldn't attack the human. So this is what we're working with, beginning to see this, understand this at a different level. And then the last thing I thought about, it's these 6 qualities here. The last thing I thought about is that generosity, like all the other paramis, is lawful. It is natural. It's like it was natural for this whale to just do what it needed to do to protect this, what the whale could understand was a weaker being from that tiger shark, and just get in the way. Didn't even have to talk about it. The guy tried to swim around it, and the whale would not let him, just because the whale understood something he didn't know. So these paramis, and especially with generosity, this is a lawful, natural energy that we're trying to tap into. And it's more than just our thoughts about it. So just a few more things, and then we'll do a little meditation. In Dhamma, what generosity is, you can think of it as 3 different aspects. First, it's dana. This is kind of like the first level of generosity. We kind of know it because we hold it at the end of a talk, and we ask for dana for support for teachers and organizations, and we're kind of used to that. It's a giving. We know that. It's actually the practice of giving gifts. That's what it is. But you don't only give gifts as a material thing. Dana can also be considered the giving of fearlessness. So you give people this right that they do not have to be afraid of you. You're learning to be in the world with other people. And there is this gift of fearlessness that I Like when we work with the precepts, we are actually learning how to be in the world without causing harm. Or you can give the gift of Dhamma, which is considered one of the highest gifts that you could give, but it's this gift of Dhamma, of actually sharing the practice, not so much for like proselytizing. It's not that kind of a gift, but when we are, I mean, I can, probably the best way I can explain it, I mean, you have your own understanding of it, but when I started practicing, my practice, nobody in my family understood it. I didn't understand it. But over the years of my practice, my family began to understand and appreciate meditation. Maybe they should try this. I have given out meditative instructions for so many of my family members, not because I tried to tell them they should meditate, though they should, but because they would see me and say, whatever you're doing, I noticed something, and I want you to help me with that too. And so there would be this gift of the Dhamma that begins to happen. So Dhamma is this giving of gifts, material, yes, but fearlessness and Dhamma. The next one, I think I'm saying this right, Greg, but I might be mispronouncing it, is it Kaja? Is that how you pronounce it? Kaja or Chaga? It's C-A-G-A.
Yeah,
And
Chaga.
this one,
Chaga.
Chaga, okay. So Chaga is this second one. And when I first started learning about this variety of generosity, I always thought of it in terms of gifts. But this is a different kind of a gift, because generosity has a quality of letting go. It's teaching us how to let go. So when you think of letting go of gifts, letting go of something, this giving of gifts, you're letting go. But chaga is this letting go or giving away your rights of possession. You're letting go of the need to possess everything. Things that it's like a part of practice. We are going to lose things. Things are going to leave us. Things are family, friends, people. They die and then and they're gone. There is this we buy things and then eventually it breaks. Something happens to it. It leaves us. There's always this loss. Even if we get something, there's always this loss. And if you live in the world of possessions, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, then every time something leaves you, every time something ends, it becomes this sense of loss, and you're caught in the loss of it. But in this second layer of generosity, this actual giving away the need to have a possession, you can learn to actually live in the world as if everything is borrowed. This is a temporary. Even your family members are borrowed, friends are borrowed, so that everything becomes part of this shared relationship. And we learn how to let go, how to accept the true nature of impermanence, and begin to understand that things come and go, come and go, come and go. It's part of having a generous heart, because things flow through us and not so much this kind of mindness. And the last one is upadi. And upadi is this way of sort of letting go of defilements. You gradually let go of the collecting of certain mind states. that become our habits that we go to all the time, and we kind of collect them and keep them. And this is a letting go of all of these various mind states. The second kind of aspect, so besides the letting go, the second part of thing that generosity does is it brings us into the flow, this natural flow of giving and receiving. That life by its very nature is a giving, receiving existence. So we breathe out carbon for the plants, and we breathe in this kind of oxygen from them. That if you can see it in nature, that everything, the water comes down, it feeds the plants grow and feed us, and eventually the moisture that's in the ground passes back up and goes back up into the clouds, and this kind of universal flow that's always happening. It happens constantly. No one of us lives in this earth, in this world, without dependency on others. We are inter-are, as Thich Nhat Hanh would say, and we are all very much connected. So this constant infinity flow of giving and receiving, the more you practice with generosity, the more you have access to that, the more you begin to realize, oh, I'm part of a flow. It's not just me. I really saw that when Thaddeus died. I for so long thought I had to tuck in and hold me and Thaddeus together. We got to get through this. And when Aaron put that post online, and all of a sudden it was massive, I, for the first time, realized it is so much easier to hold pain if it's held in a collective. Everything. I want to put everything in a collective. Let's hold all of it. And there's something about Sangha that helps us begin to realize that we're part of a flow. And this practice of generosity, you can begin to feel generosity just because you feel the flow, just because you feel that someone is giving something to me and I'm giving something to them. It's this ever flowing giving and receiving, giving and receiving. And then the last aspect that I want to bring out about this framing is that this whole nature of generosity is connected to both our internal experience and our external experience. It's not just how we exist in the world, but it's how we exist in here also. So there's an internal, external way that we're connecting to the flow of generosity, that we're connecting to the sharing and giving of gifts, and the letting go or sharing fearlessness. All of it is internal, external. So when you're in this flow, or you're giving away externally, then you're just connecting with, there is a need. What is to be offered, and you offer appropriately for whatever comes to you in that moment. Internally, it's without malice. There's no ill will. It's just the release. There's no begrudging or haphazardly. And we don't have that sense of expecting something in return. It's freely offered. So if it's freely offered, you give according to your own level of giving. Even if you're on the stingy side, that giving, even if it's given in this like smaller side, you are gradually feeling into it, learning what is a freer place to be, what is a restricted way of being. Internally, we're learning to feel our way through generosity. So this is what I wanted to offer, this expanded understanding of generosity. It is a gift. It is a gift that opens up all of our Dhamma practice if we are willing to begin to practice with it as a practice and not just, do I give enough? Or am I giving enough? Or do I get enough? But that we practice way more broadly and begin to look at it way more broadly. And the broader we look at it, the more access we have to the wisdom it brings. If you're not sure, is this connected to generosity? Then yeah, let's assume it is and practice with that and see what happens and begin to see. It's like windows. On one hand, you could think of it as I'm in a room where there's all these windows. And on one hand, I could say, oh, they're just windows. But on the other hand, I could see how generous they are because the view at this retreat center is fantastic. Some of you know. And so I'm looking at this view, and it's such a gift that nature just gives up to us. I don't even know if nature recognizes that it's so beautiful, but maybe they like the ooh and an ah, and the trees are like ooh and an ah, and they kind of like that a little bit. But basically, the window itself is offering a gift of me being able to see. So you can look for it anywhere, feel into it anywhere, anytime. It's just learning to actually be willing to practice into the felt sense of this idea, this Dhamma principle, this possibility that generosity exists always, everywhere, energetically flowing in and out, natural, lawful, very much something to be practiced with. So that is my my offering. Thank you so much for listening. We'll sit here a moment and just let all of that sink in for a moment before we do a little bit of practice. So I don't have a bell. So we're going to have to practice with a little bit of, do you have a bell there, Greg? You can ring it. There you go. You ring it for me. Thank you. That's a nice bell. Goes on forever. So what I thought we would do is have a little practice. And then Greg, I'll have you ring the bell at the end. I'll give you a heads up. And I'd like to practice. I don't know if you guys have practiced this way, but I'd like to practice with the guidelines in meditation. So because we're doing an inside dialogue practice and we know it's relational, the relational being, the voice of another is actually listening into your own body, listening to what your internal sense is saying. That's what you're listening for. So I'll try to guide us a little bit, but the words that the guidelines that I'm pointing to is as if you are listening to the voice of your body trying to share with you, the same way you would listen to a partner who is sharing with you. And it might seem a little awkward, but maybe not. We'll see what happens. So let's get ourselves in a comfortable position and ready to practice. feeling the chair or the cushion. If you notice the mind is already wandering away, then just pause gently. Just interrupt that process and shift your attention back to the chair or the cushion, whatever furniture you're sitting on. And see if you can keep your attention on the felt sense of the furniture, the cushion. It's sort of you're listening to the body tell you what it's like to be sitting. What does it feel like to be sitting? And if the mind wanders, you pause. Just bring your attention back, open to the felt sense of the body telling you this is what it's like to be sitting. There's a way in which when we point our attention towards an object, the mind wants to wander away. And so it's this reminder to relax, to be here, to allow the attention just to listen to the body, just sharing through its sensory experience what it's like to be sitting here. You might notice sounds, the sensation of sitting. You might notice places where it's achy, the temperature. You might notice the breath, the breathing. We're just paying attention, giving our ear, giving our attention to the body as it describes what it's like to be sitting right here, right now. As the mind draws away, just pause, relax. No need to go anywhere else. We're sitting right here. And just be here now. Being interested in the body's experience. You can open your attention to all the sense doors. And the ears can share what it hears, what they are hearing. The body can share what it's sensing, both from the outside, the temperature, and internally. Tingling and a sense of aliveness, or maybe it's telling you it's tired. It's been a rough day for the body. It's okay. We're just opening to our whole experience. Don't forget to pause and begin again. relax, sort of allow your attention to stay with this body. And you can just attune to this present moment, the emergence of this present moment by noticing what is shifting, changing, noticing impermanence. It might be sensory or feeling, changing nature of the body. Could be sounds, moving, changing. My voice comes in and out. Could be your attention shifting, changing, going in thought, coming back to the body, going in thought, coming back to the body. Just pause, relax, allow, kind of open to this present moment experience, listening to the body the way you would listen to a partner. It's this listening deeply to this direct experience right here, right now. What is the body saying? And you pause and interrupt the mind, always dominating the conversation, and shift into a felt sense connection with the body. Listen externally, internally. Opening to the whole experience of movement, change, impermanence. I found that this is the language of the body. It speaks in impermanence. No problem pausing over and over again, relaxing, beginning again, opening to your whole experience, the direct experience right now. What does it feel like to be sitting? Doesn't matter what the body is saying. It's important for you to know. Could be achy, could be painful. That's okay. We need to hear this. Take some care. Just soften. Allow it to be. It's okay. Notice the changing nature of it. See if you can balance your attention both internally and externally. Greg, you can ring the bell whenever you're ready. So we'd like to go into dyads of um, dyads. Will it be an even dyad, Jean? Okay, great. So hopefully you all want to participate. We'd like to go into a dyad and share, sort of, we're going to start with taking turns. So you'll need to pick a speaker and a listener. And the first speaker just wanted to share where is generosity in this moment, right? Because you felt into the body, and the body knows, it knows where generosity is. So you can take a moment and listen deeply inside yourself and begin to speak truthfully. If you don't know where it is, don't say anything. Just wait a few minutes. Ask again, where is generosity in this moment? And begin to sense if you can access it. Take your time, there's no rush. I think we'll do 3 minutes for the speaker, and then we'll switch to a listener, switch speakers, and then 3 more minutes. And then for the remaining time, I guess it'll be I think at about 9 minutes will be left. We'll be there for 15 minutes. So about 9 minutes will be left. We'll just share back and forth about what you noticed, what you understand for them talk, what you felt during the meditation when you were talking and listening to the body, and then just what your experience has been. And then we'll come back and maybe have a little bit of time for large group discussion. Yeah, where's generosity in this moment? Okay, thank you so much for practicing and participating.